Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. I'm really glad to be here, and thank you for Suzanne and Yakin to invite us for IGDA. The intention of this, sorry, just give me a moment.
Yeah, hey, no spoilers.
Well, the camera is sort of odd here, but well, the intention of this series of presentations is basically to help game developers prepare for Gamescom. Our intention of this series is to basically help developers who are all indies who want to actually meet different people, people who want to fund their games, publishers, even mentors. Each of us sort of has a different objective, but when it comes to networking, when it comes to marketing yourself, your game, and negotiating contracts, there are all these sort of similarities. And we hope that by the time end of this series, you would have a foundational understanding for all the fundamentals that you would need to succeed at Devcom and Gamescom. As you can see, these are the following dates for all the key for the series, but you don't actually have to attend all of them. Attend the ones that you feel are what you're lacking, you most need to. But I would say that if you're here today, the networking one is pretty much the most important because that is the foundational side of things. So let me introduce myself. I'm GC. I'm with Conduit. I have a background in finance and startups and video game studios. Been helping video game studios grow, work, and basically help them develop games, find financing for the games, and work and become studios that are international. Kai, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Kai. The photo is when I had about 4 times as much hair. It feels great, time for summer. So I, like as GC, CEO of Conduit, I love helping creative people share their work. Have done that with creators at Twitch, as well as artists at SoundCloud and in games for a while now. So thanks for having us.
So since this is a networking series, I just wanted to give you a little story, right? Quite a few years ago, I wanted to join the game industry, and I had a wealth of experience in finance, but it was all in water infrastructure financing. So what does it relate to game development? So I spoke to a schoolmate of mine, and he introduced me to someone who was leaving Riot Games. That person who was leaving Riot Games introduced me to someone at Riot Games itself. And then that person introduced me to someone from Amazon. And, I never joined Amazon. I never joined Riot Games, but I kept in touch with all these individuals. We kept in touch, messaged each other on LinkedIn, shared each other's celebrations, promotions, that sort of thing. Learn from each other as well, because occasionally we'll call and catch up. And so sometime in January, I had this conversation with the guy from Amazon, and we were saying, hey, you know what? We feel that in our industry, indies are the ones that are the most creative. They don't follow the same format. They get to take risk, and we want to help them. And that conversation eventually spun into Conduit, and that Amazon guy is Kai. So, these random things are basically opportunities to actually meet and see what happens. And we hope to basically give you some tools for that. But, let's be honest, networking is hard. It's tough, it's terrible. I'm the guy who's sitting at the corner, having the Coca-Cola, drinking 1 Coca-Cola, 2 Coca-Cola, 3 Coca-Cola, because I need to have something in my hand. It's difficult, it's hard. And honestly, I still find it very tough. You're going into a convention, a class, networking event, everyone is already in deep conversation. How do you get through? It's important. It's hard, but networking is important. I think we can all agree, because no matter how brilliant you are, there are still going to be gaps in your knowledge. And meeting and through networking, you're able to acquire this sort of skills and knowledge that that you can put together for your development, for your game, for anything, by knowing this wide variety of people. However, networking is also a skill, right? And it's a skill that can be improved by practice. When you're at Gamescom or Devcom, you're going to find that these networking scenarios are like those procedurally generated events. All the elements are pretty much the same, but they're all mixed up and everywhere. In this situation, all the XP that you gained from the previous meeting translates to the next one, and you're gaining that sort of skill. So in essence, yes, it's difficult. Yes, it needs practice, but you're constantly getting practice. And we are gamers. We know procedural generation. We just have to play the game and be practiced at it. And as you can see, being the video game developer, you still have all these other sides of the industry that you have to connect with, you have to know, and it's very important. But in the end, networking at its core fundamental is about mutually beneficial relationships. It's about being able to work with each other and actually rise each other up. It's, in a sense, a way to benefit not just yourself, but the group that you're with, and essentially the entire industry, which is how Kai and myself got together and started doing this. But let's begin by saying, what networking is not and what networking is. Networking itself is not what can I gain from this. It's not about what I want. It's not about this sort of perception that you are only getting all these things for yourself. And because the thing is, people are observant individuals. We are social creatures that we pick up these clues and you don't want to be used. So when I say, what can I gain from this? It becomes a situation of just a one-sided thing, and people don't like that. Secondly, networking is not a numbers game. It's not about building that huge amount of people, because if that was the case, I would be going to every convention and just throwing out business cards like Santa Claus, right? It doesn't matter. And, it's off-putting. It's not something that is effective. But if you go into networking with the understanding that the background is mutually beneficial, you're not going into what's for me, but you're going in what's for each other. It helps the situation by making you approachable and making you a person that's really connected, because people know that you can benefit them and they can benefit you. And also, it's about the quality of the relationship that you have. You could be acquaintances, yes, but you could also develop the friendship even deeper, like Kai and myself, over the number of years, joking, laughing, even of non-work related things. We have the benefit of being gamers, so we have a shared hobby and experience to share together. So these are the key foundational skills of networking. In every meeting, you got to be genuine. You have to be authentic. Everybody who's observant enough will be able to sense things. And because they're able to sense things, they will understand if they're being lied to, or you just do not want that sort of false impression, right? So being genuine and being authentic, being truthful, you don't have to remember anything. You are who you are. If you are nervous and you're shy, be nervous and be shy, but be authentic. So when you are having that conversation, you are clear and representing yourself. And the next thing is, regardless of how things are, always follow up. It could have ended where you've not learned anything, not been able to make to the next connection, or it could have ended very well. Always follow up, saying hi, saying thank you, saying good for this meeting in an email and a LinkedIn message always helps the person remember you. And more than that, it also allows you to be in contact with the person. So this person might not be helpful to you now, or you might not be helpful to them. But in the future, things change. And lastly, basically, you always practice active listening. If you go into a networking session with someone and you're going, oh, I'm so great, I know everything, I'm fantastic, yeah, me best. you're gonna leave, and they're gonna go, what the heck happened? That's not what you want, right? You need to experience active listening, where 2 years versus that one mouth. You already know what you know. You're there to learn what you don't know, and only through active listening will you be able to achieve that. So there are these 4 tool sets that I want to provide for you to actually help with laying the foundation and the road towards Gamescom and Devcom. These are basically the opener in which it will allow you to begin certain conversations, which for us, sometimes it's really the hardest thing, the beginning bit. The elevator pitch, which basically encompasses your entire story and your entire need and what you want to do within the meeting. Sorry, just give me a moment. You also have the script. Now, the script is your little dialogue outline that says, hey, I know what's going to be said. I know what's going to happen. I know what I can relate to. And lastly, you have mindset, which is essentially the most important thing when you approach it, because it gives you the courage to begin networking or take the time for yourself. So to begin with, in opener, essentially doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as hi. It's not supposed to be a big thing. It's just meant to initiate something. And so something as simple as hi, I can't help but notice, etc., is enough. So keeping it simple, that's all you need to do. But the important thing beyond that is actually having that attitude, that energy that comes from it. You can be shy, you can be uncertain, but be friendly, be open, be the person that is approachable. And going up to someone and saying hi, as simple as that, is enough to sort of break the ice. The next step you want to do is to find something relevant. Finding something relevant connects the individuals that are initially strangers. You and the other person immediately have some form of rapport. Now, this relevance does not have to be overly complicated. It could be as simple as the weather. It could be your badge, or asking them about the show itself. Hi, what's happening at Game? How's the show for you? Personally, I like to talk about the weather, and I know this is weird, but I come from a really cold place. It's ridiculously cold, like -20, negative, and every time I talk about this place, everybody sort of relates. They understand, oh, I hate the cold too. And that immediately allows for that relation. It has nothing to do with the overall general conversation, but I can relate to that person. I connect with the person. Occasionally, of course, you get the person who's like, I don't have to worry about cold. I handle cold well. And then I would go, well, you're the bravest person I met today, right? It's that form of connecting, the initial opening, and then the subsequent finding that relevant connecting piece that you're looking for. Now, again, the relevance can be anything. Could even simply be, what are you doing today? Typically, once you pass that sort of opening and relevance stage, you move on to small talk. And for small talk itself, it's difficult. Sometimes, what are you talking about? You're talking about nothing, and you're talking about something. But what's really happening is there is a subtext, there's an informational exchange. You're getting the sense of the individual, right? You're getting the sense of how that individual might react to you, and how that individual, how you should react to that person. It's data, it's information, and it helps. You begin by keeping it lighthearted. So you learn more of the person and how they respond, and then you can sort of choose how you want to approach it. And this sort of provides you that access into understanding how best to have a conversation with them. And this sort of subsequently allows you to provide that sort of foundation where you can have those deeper conversations. I didn't begin my talks with Kai about Conduit and helping indies from the beginning. It was as simple as, I believe we talked about surfing and something along those lines. But yeah, we had a friendly conversation. We got a sense, and then we laid the foundation for the deeper topics. in the next bit, you basically move on into your elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch is essentially an encompassing idea of how are you going to approach conferring the information or the request that you have. It's about that sort of aspect of presenting out there, this is how it is, and not putting it in someone's face that way. So as part of that, you need to first know, what is your goal in your elevator pitch? Do you need to fundraise? Do you need to find a publisher? Do you need to find a composer or someone? Understanding this goal helps you shape your story, shape your overall message on how best to actually approach your elevator pitch. Your pitch also needs to explain what you can do, right? And what is so unique about you that allows this sort of interest to come. I would say that it doesn't have to be massively interesting, but it has to be unique and truthful to you. That is enough to actually make these elevator pitch as interesting as possible, because it's about you and it's about what you want. And that is the only moment you actually get to say, this is what I'm looking for, and putting the message out there. So I wanted to give everybody a framework into how to create that sort of elevator pitch. And I thought about it, and one of my favorite shows is Babylon 5. I watched it after it was off the air, but thematically, there were some thematic pillars that guided the entire show, and it was about life, right? But oddly enough, it sort of fits the framework of what an elevator pitch can potentially be. The 5 fundamental questions of Babylon 5. Who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? Where are you going? And do you have anything worth living for? Do you have anything worth living for? It's a little bit of a push, but it's still kind of part of it. So let me use myself as an example. Who am I? I'm here to help developers with marketing and finding publishers. What do I want? I want to meet indie developers. And why are you here? To help developers make a living doing what they love. And where are you going? Gamescom, Devcom. Do you have anything worth living for? I have decade of experience in which I understand business development, financing, and working within the game industry. And if I bring it all together, basically I'm a founder at Conduit, and we turn gameplay into social posts. And we are here at Gamescom and Devcom to meet developers and introduce them to the publishers that we are working with. I have a decade of experience that that allows me to understand games and understand financing and understand how to work with publishers. It's quick, simple, and clear of my objectives to get into Gamescom and Devcom, and my hope of what I would obtain through this experience. Now, how does this relate to you? It could be as simple as we are making a game it combines this specific thing, and it's special because of this, and we're currently at this stage and we need help in this thing, or we have experience in this and we can complete it well. What makes it truthful to you, unique to you, and part of your story in which you're trying to convey to anyone who's listening? So we move on to sort of the script and structure of it in action. And so here's a little cheat sheet. You've hit that opener. You've got your elevator pitch and your small talk out of the way. Now you're in that conversational aspect of things. You're having that sort of deeper conversation about what you want, or you're also having a deeper conversation about something completely unrelated. Now, speaking as a person who's rather introverted and fumbles when I don't prepare, having that script allows me to plan out, to map out a potential situation. It is in essence a walkthrough. I plan out potential multiple scenarios. What could this question be like? What could this conversation be like? It doesn't have to be as massively detailed. It doesn't have to cover every single thing, because it's never going to cover every single thing. But it needs to cover what you will feel comfortable talking. And it gives you that sort of cheat sheet in the background saying, okay, I know what to talk about. Some of us have difficulty thinking on the spot, but remembering on the spot is not as difficult. And so providing that script for yourself allows you to, that little cheat sheet to begin the conversation and hopefully bring you to that closure that you need. In a sense, it's like a walkthrough through the Fallout romance option to get what you want. You have the path, you have an idea, and you're slowly mapping things along. Now, what I normally do is I take a blank piece of paper, I write out, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I feel the conversation is going to go. And I talk about what I'm doing, and then I role play. Who is this person? Is this person a publisher? Is this person a composer? Is this person a writer? Or the random person that's along the street? Just whatever you feel you might encounter, write out a little script. You are the player on your own stage. You're your actor on how you want to convey your information. And by combining all this, it allows you to become that individual who is prepared, who understands, and you have something in your back pocket. You know that it will help you. The next part of it is that you also need to know how to exit a conversation. That is slightly more different, right? Not every conversation, not every person that you meet is going to be in alignment with what you need. The potential overlap might not be there. And so because the overlap is not there, you spending time talking to that individual would be not mutually beneficial, right? At the same time, typically at an event, and I'm extremely guilty of this, is that I would find the first group of people and it's nice and safe and the networking is happening all around me, but I'm staying there for 30 minutes, even though it's not mutually beneficial. It's safe because I've already established a rapport with these individuals, but it's not mutually, it's not beneficial for yourself or them because you are keeping it safe and you're not allowing yourself to meet more people who could potentially help you along with your project. So I'll give you an example. You meet a composer at a networking event and you're having a good conversation, but then you don't need a composer in your game. You've already got a fantastic soundtrack. You need to move on. There's no overlap, and you prepare your little script again. You have your script that allows you to exit out of these conversations. It's as simple as, well, I'll let you carry on your day, or, well, I'm sure you have lots of people to meet. A simple, polite explanation of how you're going to exit out is all you need. If this is your, for lack of a better word, something happened to my grandma, I got to get out this date, sort of a reasoning. Polite, clear, and everybody acknowledges that you need that sort of conversation at times to exit out. However, that is also mutually beneficial. And I'll give you an example why. You've left speaking to the composer because you have no overlap. And you've gone across the room and you're speaking to someone else. And the person goes, yeah, I need a composer for my new game. And you go, oh, I know that guy. Yeah, I know a guy right for you. I just met him. That mutual benefit is part of networking. And that mutual benefit happens when you are looking for what you want and also helping others and connecting with others. And part of the scripts and part of the exits will help you with this. The next bit is mindset. The mindset is really core and really important because it really does drive you with everything. A lot about networking sometimes feels like the perception is that you are selling something, your idea, yourself, etc. The important thing about your mindset change here is it shifts how you approach things. By saying, hey, I'm going to help this person. My great game idea is going to be the next hit that they are looking for. My game idea is something they need because it fits all the criteria that they're looking for their publisher. Switching how you're looking at it changes how you will approach it and makes the event sort of less overwhelming. It takes you that sort of little moment to just all it takes is that little moment to reframe, rethink, and go, okay, I am helping them. I'm helping them get what they want. And it's not about me, it's about how I convey this. And so when you are in these conversations, just focus on the person. What are they talking about? What are they here for? And have that sort of rapport, finding that relevance that you've really found, but having that comfort level to also state what you're looking for. And another bit about this is chunking, which I personally find as a very core part of networking. As an introvert, I have energy reserves that deplete really quickly at networking events. So you might find me at Gamescom in the restroom, taking a breather, going, because I need to regain my energy. And that's fine, because I am not gonna always be on show or networking all the time. It is fine to take breaks. It is fine to say, I'm gonna try networking for the 20 minutes. I'm gonna try networking for 10 minutes. I'm gonna network with one person and then see how it is. Chunking the time, making these small goals allows you to target things piecemeal instead of seeing it massively. I've been at networking events where I feel extremely out of the water, and I'm the guy in the corner seeing everybody talking, and the door is just open and everybody's talking and everybody seems to have friends, and I'm the guy who's grabbing a Coca-Cola. So what happens is that I have to take that walk around, take that breather, and realize, okay, this is the amount of time I have. Just take 15 minutes. If nothing happens in 15 minutes, I can go. No big deal. I'm just going to speak to one person. And what you're going to find is that there's going to be a snowball effect. It's going to build up in such a way that the more confidence you build, the more experience you build, and it rolls up into a bigger snowball in which suddenly you're networking. It's just taking that first step. With this, having that attitude of being humble, being bold, being respectful. By being humble, you are putting yourself in a situation where you are open to listening. You're also open to sharing about your idea by being bold. And by being respectful, understanding that it's not about you, it's about them. In that moment, understanding creates that sort of rapport as well. And so when you have these three elements put together, it creates the best sort of attitude when you're speaking to that individual. So let's do a little scenario of what you might potentially encounter at Devcom or Gamescom. I'm gonna ask Kai to approach me. So Kai is the individual who is going to be saying hi to myself as the opener and all that, and what could potentially happen at Gamescom or Devcom to you.
All right, so we're in the bar in Cologne. I just order my Kolsch beer. Saying, oh, okay. Nice. Hey, how's the convention going for you?
Trust me, it's never gonna happen. This will never happen. This is probably the worst thing, the look and the walk off. Never gonna happen. It's in every social event, in every networking event, people want to meet people, and people want to be polite. It's part of our social framework. It's part of our cultural interpretation. That is probably the worst thing you can encounter. And that's only if you've met an enemy. And I generally hope that most of us don't have enemies. What's most likely going to happen is, Kai, if you...
Yeah. Hey, so how's the convention going for you?
Sorry. Yeah, not bad. It's been a good day. Lots of meetings. I'm exhausted. Are you exhausted?
Yeah, really tired. It was a long flight. So yeah, what brought you out here? What are you working on?
Oh yeah, I'm working on a new game that is about popcorns throwing themselves at the moon. And it could be, and as sorry. So as you can see, Kai had interest in showing up, saying hi. He also had interest in what I was doing, and we also could relate on certain things. This is the most common scenario that you'll find, because individuals want to be nice, individuals want to be polite, and individuals want to network. They want to find out more. The worst case scenario that you have in your head is not going to happen. And the worst case scenario that will happen is mostly you get exhausted and you want to leave, which happens to me all the time. Take that break, take the breather, the chunking, the time, and the small goals, and you will help you sort of move on to the next stage in networking. So the next part about it, once the event is done, once Devcom is done, once Gamescom is done, you need to follow up. You need to say, hey, I remember you. Thank you for this conversation. There are different ways, LinkedIn, emails, occasionally a call or a written letter if you so choose. But the important thing is acknowledging them, thanking them, hoping that you've learned something from them, and having that in that email as well, or that LinkedIn message, and saying to them, hey, thank you for this information. This was great, blah, blah, blah. The important thing about having something like that is not just for them to remember who you are, because it locks in their head what was the conversation about. People remember the stories versus people in general. But it's about having that sort of connection with that person, building that sort of relevance and rapport such that they remember who you are. But also for you in the future, 3 years down the road, you're opening up your LinkedIn message or an email to that same person, and you're reading, oh yeah, I spoke about this thing with this person, and it's something you can subsequently relate to in the end with when you are reapproaching the individual. Another thing to do is to not wait for too long to connect to the person. Our memories are really short. No matter how great it is, you meet so many people at these events. You meet so many different people that it gets overwhelming. Connect immediately after, the day of, or at the very most a week after the event with an email, the LinkedIn message, and that actually helps you remember what happened during the thing, and it also helps them remember you. So it brings it all together. In the end, it's about building that friendship. This networking thing would not work if it's all about what you can gain. It's about building a friendship, and you're not going to be best friends. You could potentially just be acquaintances, but having that friend, having that person that you like, hey, I've had a communication with this person, I have this sort of relationship with this individual, allows you to be okay with helping that person in the future, and also asking for help in the future. Provide yourself with that sort of positive energy when you're approaching them and talking to them. The Debbie Downer, oh, the world is ending, is great for your best friend, not necessarily for your friend who you've had 2 coffee conversations with. Keep the deep stuff with your best friend, but keep the friend stuff with your friend's friend, if that makes any sense. And lastly, when you are asking for help, people in general love to help. It's something that is inbuilt with us. It makes us feel good that we have done something for someone. However, the counter to that is that we are also really lazy. And so being lazy, which is part of human makeup, I guess, makes it difficult when you have to do more steps necessary to help that person. So you want to help that person, and then the dichotomy is that you kind of don't want to put in too much effort at the same time. So what you want to do is you try to make it as simple for them as possible. Say you want an introduction to someone. So could I have an introduction to this person? I would like to tell them I'm this, 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 this. This gives them that sort of outline of who you are. In short, essentially making it as simple to help you as possible will help you with your connections, will help you with your follow-ups, and will help you with your networking. That essentially brings me to the end of this quick little series. I hope it's useful, and I want to open it up to questions, because this is obviously a very complicated topic and it can be overwhelming at times. So I'm opening up to the chat group, or you can switch on your mic and speak if you so choose.
Hello. Can you hear me or no?
Yes, I can.
Okay. First of all, good morning or whichever day of the time it is. My name is Carlos Zapata, and I don't have a lot of experience when it comes to the industry or even when it comes to the games themselves. I'm not necessarily an avid, gamer, I guess, but I'm trying to learn simply because I like the storytelling aspect of things. I come from a live action student in short film background. So I'm trying to learn where I can belong in the industry if I ever am able to get in. My question is mostly through networking access. Some usually networking happens on events where you have to either go and buy tickets and go to conferences, but they're mostly not free. So I guess from someone who's starting that may not have a lot of access to those events, how can we start networking besides, workshops like these?
Understood. Let me give you a little secret tip about this. At GDC, the Game Developers Conference, it's this massive hall where everybody has to buy a badge to go in. But everybody likes to drink coffee. Everybody likes to drink tea. Wait at the Starbucks, have a little tea in your hand. You will instantly meet people who are going to the conference, who are going to these conventions because they have the badge. You can identify them. You haven't really paid anything besides that coffee, but you're still able to actually speak to the individuals. And I noticed that it can be difficult because you can't really, I would say, target who you're talking to. You generally have to be a little bit more friendly and a bit more open to whoever you're talking to. But it can happen, and I know this from experience because as a student with no money but enough money for a cup of coffee, that's what I basically did at a convention. Kai, do you have any other suggestions that you might have for him?
Definitely second. It's almost like sometimes it's a joke in the games industry where if you it's still expensive to get to the events and book a hotel, right? Because there's a lot of other people there, but a lot of times there's always like a couple hotel bars, like a Marriott bar or something, where actually there are a lot of industry people there hanging out, chatting, and a lot of the networking, happens outside of the convention halls. So that's like one trick. Like you said, sometimes you don't need passes. Although obviously for Devcom, it's kind of like very specific things for you to attend there, which is great. If you're just from home and it's pricey to fly to the event. I know I've met, especially when I was starting out in my career in games and just like after university, you can actually, a lot of people, if you reach out to them on LinkedIn or Discord and you don't have an agenda other than to learn, people can be really helpful. Like GC said, like I found a lot of mentors, friends, got advice and intros. If you just kind of message people and put yourself out there to be like, hey, just over a LinkedIn message, like, hey, I see what you're doing, super interesting. Like, I'm just trying to learn more about game design. Would you be open to having like a 30-minute call with me to talk about how you got to where you are? And it's just a nice, like, soft opener, and you never know where that can go. I think a lot of times I have to check myself sometimes too. You like feel like I got one shot with this person in this first message, so you cram everything in there. It's like, hey, like, I'm a solo dev or a team. We're going at this rate. I've got this and that, and like, a lot of times people appreciate kind of the softer approach, and just remember relationships can last years, decades, for really, they could last the rest of your life. You never know. And so it's kind of like going in with more of like a marathon mindset instead of a sprint.
Victor Garitano has a very good explanation as well. Always, use LinkedIn, play the student recent grad card, and ask people to talk about themselves.
So true.
It is easy to talk about yourself because you know yourself the best. And it also is a good place to get information, especially as a student, not knowing the industry, not knowing the landscape. Speaking to someone with that sort of experience not only gives you that connection, which should, potentially let you have that job, but also at least lays the groundwork for that network and that understanding of the industry you're in. So yeah, that's another affordable way to reach out to someone, which is via LinkedIn. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, here maybe. Oh,
Nope.
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I have, sorry, I have my my hand raised.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so the comment I would like to make that is, and it might sound basic because everyone here is probably an IGDA member, but the most foundational networking early in everyone's career, I think it happens at your local IGDA chapter, and we should not take that for granted. I mean, it's a very, very powerful place, and for me, working in video games happened because of my local IGDA chapter. They usually are very aware of everyone's situation. There are many free spaces to hang out. If your local chapter happens to not be very active, you should be the guy proposing to do something, and the president of that chapter will appreciate it. It will probably happen. So that's the most basic and foundational place, the IGDA, your local community, and you should start from there.
100% agree on that. And just to add on, if an activity is not taking place or your local IGDA is not active, that doesn't mean you can't reach out to IGDA or the president of the local chapter and say, hey, I would like to organize a get-together. I like to organize the event. You being the host, you being the one that organized it, putting yourself out there, connects you with a whole bunch of people who, well, they know that you've done this extra mile. So taking that initiative when it comes to these sort of things also helps. But yes, yeah, the IGDA aspect of reaching out and the local chapter is extremely useful. Alexander?
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you guys for doing this talk. My name is Alex, and I am Vice President of IGDA Clark in Massachusetts. So as the president of a school IGDA club, we really want to stress the importance of networking and getting students to develop the skills that they need to be able to communicate with industry professionals throughout the year. But it's very difficult to host events and get those professionals in the door to kind of help these students get to the place they need to be. So I was wondering, what would be the best course of action to either convey the importance of networking, or how do we get students to participate in it?
I think the first thing would be telling the stories of successes from networking. The reason why I began this talk with my success with Kai is not only am I, really grateful that I've got this great friendship now, but also that we're working together. These little success stories give that sort of motivation, I hope. Another thing is to help your students be okay with taking that risk.
Definitely.
I was an international student. It's a lot safer to stay in my little group of individuals because I knew them. There was a common similarity, there was relevance. But I also liked other things. Encouraging them to take that sort of step out. I think support and encouragement is the key thing, and helping them with that.
Good, definitely. We are in Worcester, so we have a ton of colleges, and there's an IGDA at another school that is like a mile away from ours. So this semester, we're going to be trying to do a lot more cooperative events so that students, even if they're not networking with other professionals, are going to be meeting new people that they haven't met before and being able to start those conversations.
Yeah, I'd say one thing too, Alex, is I remember I was in a business group in university. I joined it because I remember I think I was a second year, and it's like I have I was like a literature major. I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. I was like, I hope there are more job options out there than what the ones that are laid before me. And so I remember the reason I joined the group and I went to some of the events was kind of like I was trying to figure out like, okay, what am I going to do when I graduate? And so it was fun. I remember there were like some panels that really stuck with me where you had even like recent grads, like people only out of school 1 year, 2 years, sometimes 5 years, sometimes longer. But it was cool to see like, oh wow, here are like all the options that I have in like career or work. And some of them are very different.
Game design is massive. Yeah.
What is massive?
Just the game design industry. You can do almost anything.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it was like piquing the interest of like, oh, like that. Sometimes like that exists and interesting.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I could do that. And then, this person's just like me. And they did this step. And then they become kind of almost like more of like a mentor resource first.
Nice.
Yeah, I always found that was useful for me.
And I do have one more follow-up
found...
question. Sorry about that.
Oh. Go ahead.
You're good. I can ask after
no.
you're done. Okay.
No.
This is just a side note, but it just popped into my mind. When I am reaching out as my club to either a studio per se or anybody in the industry, should I be reaching out with my personal email or my IGDA email?
I would say the IGDA email, but clarify Yakin and Suzanne. It does add a level of credibility to what you're doing and versus being a completely random person.
Definitely.
The fact that you are a vice president, you have that sort of position of responsibility, does give you that sort of little edge as well. Personal emails are great once the friendship, the relationship has developed. But at the beginning, finding things that help add to the credibility of who you are is useful. And just a quick thing, Alex, like fantastic that you are running and working with the IGDA as a vice president. I was a student lead at when I was in university as well, and it's the toughest, most thankless thing oftentimes. So thank you very much for doing that for your fellow students.
Thank you very much.
No worries. I saw someone raise their hand, and I saw Michael's question as well. And then the hand sort of disappeared. Is there any?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was me. I had like a quick thought that might have helped Alexander out here on his school organization thing. First off, hi guys. Y'all can tell me if this like sort of works or not as a litmus test, but when I was in my 4-year, I was the secretary for an animation producers guild. And all we did was we just talked about the production cycle. I went to an art school, but, we wanted to be the kids that were like, pushing the paper and like trying to, figure out what it takes to make a schedule and how to motivate people to keep working. And all we did was during our club meetings, our mission was to try to get kids connected with industry vets and recent grads from the school as well. So we would try to have a talk every week with anybody that we could make friends with and charm to come in and talk to our student body. So we would do like little interviews, we'd let everybody ask questions, and then before we did any of that, we would also always ask our speaker, hey, are you comfortable with letting our club add you guys on LinkedIn and create those early connections, just as a way to help kind of grow everybody's network independently, while we were all working on our projects and thinking about like where we were going to be after graduation.
Yeah.
So like little mission side statements like that might be a big boon to you and your other president while you guys are trying to help get everybody that first step in their career.
Thanks, Victor. And as you can see, like networking within IGDA is also another fundamental thing that connects you with all these pieces of knowledge that you wouldn't have known before. Michael, sorry, I'm messing that up, but Michael, he runs a small indie studio, and he's been approaching producers and hardly gets a response. And how best to actually organize meetings and talking to them and follow-ups. It's common the case that the publishers or VCs, for that matter, have hundreds, thousands of people reaching out to them. I think in our initial conversations, Kai and I had with some publishers, they were like, we have a backlog. We don't need more games. We need quality games. And that is the difference here. I'm not saying that people's games are not quality. But how you verify the quality typically comes with the people that could potentially introduce you to that publisher. It is sort of a leg up when someone who knows a publisher, who's worked with a publisher before, or who has worked with a VC before, and says, "Hey, we met this person. We've seen their game. It's of interest. I think you should have a look." It does help you. It does fortunately help you jump that queue, and it also gives you that sort of social credibility because that's also been vetted. That's not to say that you should not send out these hundreds of emails and connecting people. It is very difficult because there are so many ideas out there. One potential thing that you could do, which is also difficult because what you can do is basically you customize your messages as well, uniquely to the publishing house, uniquely to the person that you're trying to reach out to as well. Customization allows them to realize that you've put thought into it, you've put an effort into this, instead of saying this, "I've got this fantastic game," because everybody has a fantastic game, but I have this fantastic game and it relates to what you're looking for, which is console excitement and popcorn, for example. Effort and customization would be another suggestion.
Yeah, I would add on too. This is partly, it has to kind of do with what we offer developers at Conduit, because we've heard this from many devs and from publishers on both sides. It's a tough system today. One thing we noticed is that games are starting to act and function more like tech startups would, where you have some initial product, or what we call an MVP, minimum viable product. Like, okay, it's a bare bones thing, and then you kind of get it out there, and you're like trying to test and just get feedback from players, see how it does, and constantly iterate. And we try to help developers do this because we heard from publishers, again, like investors, what makes it easier for someone to invest in or publish your game is having hard data to back it up that people do want this game. So that can come in the form of Steam wishlist, can come in the form of Discord users, can come in the form of just positive reviews or feedback or email lists, literally any type of number you can have to quantify. Because an investor or publisher, they're looking at numbers, right? They're trying to figure out, I've got this budget for the year, I need to allocate that to however many games I want. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 300, but my goal is it's always think about that person's job. What's their job? What did they do to make them look good to their boss, to get promoted? And their job is to take that budget and try to get a good return from that in the investments. And so if you're able to talk and provide numbers to them at all, it actually goes a really long way and kind of shows to them that you get it and you understand how they're goaled personally. So that's one thing, and that's kind of what gets us out of bed in the morning, is trying to figure out how do we help games get the word out and start filling in some of these early numbers, because it is really hard today.
Yeah, thanks very much. That's really helpful. I mean, as you say, the publishers, they have the same problem. They get overwhelmed with too many emails and they don't know how to react. So I totally understand the point. It's not that I'm mad that they don't respond. I totally understand the situation. It's just a problem with too many players in the same field. And they can only, small publishers release 2, 3, maybe 10 games. Very small games with very low budgets, and of course they have to focus. And the other thing, I was just wondering. I was being contacted by, so by middlemen companies like who claim to have established contacts with the best publishers, and they will, help you create a best pitch deck, put you in front of those decision makers and all of that. And of course they take their fee, they take their cut and all of that. But I mean, do you think that, being represented by an agency or, going to one of these companies that claim that they have been involved in the financing of so many movies, but you haven't never heard of them before, if that's a good thing, or where do you see one need to be more cautious?
May I take this?
Yeah, please.
If any company asks you to pay upfront first, run. You should not. There are game scouts out there. There are legitimate game scouts out there. They are paid by the publisher, hired by the publisher to be aware of the market. And that's also part of what we do, is because we work very closely with them, publishers, and they know we are working with indies, and that's why they work with us on that. But there are individuals who yeah, don't pay before.
No, sorry. Yeah, they'll just take a cut. So of course, I would never pay someone before for that.
Right,
but they are like, oh yeah, so if we get a deal, like it's 30%, but like any deal you do is now 30% or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't want to name companies here, but I guess
there are individuals, because they are individual companies that are motivated by that, and your development cost is certainly just 70% of the overall ask that because they are taking that 30% cut, and it's painful, it's difficult. You have to weigh it. I can't say for certain never go. I mean, there are companies and individuals who can do that. I would say that the really good ones, the really legit ones, they generally don't take it something as high as 30, and probably not as high as 10 even. But look for the ones that are tasked by publishers, because their motivation is to do a good job for the publisher, and it's not just to get that commission.
If I could jump in for a sec. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I think it's more like, because there are agencies and like individual consultants that are super connected and do a good job in their business because they have clients that have found success. I think it's more making sure, like say you're working with an agency, that the things that the agency is offering you are actually what you need to then get the publishing deal. Like for example, if you're working with an agency and what they're doing is helping you get in contact with someone to make a pitch deck, like, is that actually what you needed to close the deal? Like, or is it actually that publisher doesn't invest in single player roguelikes, and that's your game, where then you're now paying someone to help you with something, but it's like it wasn't going to work anyway, or what you needed to in fact do was like, change this within the game or the branding or the the geographic focus to be more of a match with publisher goals. Like I would just say it's probably, it could get expensive if you go in and just be like, I need a publisher, I need funding, and then you like kind of, it's better if you go in with like knowing more specifically what you need, and this is why you're approaching this person, and there's like literally a sliver that you cannot fulfill yourself. Because like the publishers and investors do appreciate when they see that you are doing a lot of things yourself, and like you are putting forth your best efforts, and it does, I mean, definitely not to discount it. Sometimes because those pipelines are so full today, it does take a long time to get the face time and get the meetings, but they still see you showing up and you start building that kind of rapport or just consistency, like it's noticed. So
okay, cool, thanks. So I should not just talk to publishers, but also try to find, the contacts of their, scouts that not necessarily work for the publishers.
But drop us a message, Michael, and if you need to talk more about it, yeah, that's fine. So one quick thing, I know it's past the set time and people are starting to move up. First and foremost, I would like to thank my team members, Dan and Lucas Shiska, for the support they gave us for this. And I think I love that Alex has put down his LinkedIn on the chat. It's networking, it's connecting with people. So feel free to do that. And remember to follow up and say, hi, this is how I met you. How was GC's talk? Well, anyway, yeah, looking for the next question. Oh, and Andrea, we can reach out to us and we'll drop you that presentation, or we'll work something out with IGDA and pass it on to them.
All right, thanks.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, GC and Kai. This was really amazing. Really appreciate your taking the time to do this, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Great. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you all so much. And this is a source of wisdom for everyone that we will definitely be sharing with the community. But if there are no further questions or any other comments, we can close it down now. Thank you all very much. Happy time zone.
Yeah, totally. I'd say just the last contact for us. For some reason, my chat's bugged out, but you guys can if the deck goes out after, you can either add us on Discord, or just if you go to our site conduit.gg, there's a Discord button there, and I think you can find us on LinkedIn too. So always happy to talk about things from the session or just in general. So yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone, and to IGDA for setting it up.